relentless adult adultation,
Adulation.
adultations.
All right, that's fine. That's fine.
Now, a few weeks ago, you and I kind of discussed a little bit about body positivity, which I thought was really important. Now, one thing you and I did come across here was a term that neither one of us had really heard of. It's called Bigorexia. And it's basically a social media diet of perfect bodies that spurn some teenage boys to form muscle dysphoria. The first person they talk about here, his name is Bobby. He's from Long Island, and he's 16 years old. Now, he spent the last couple of years kind of whipping his body in shape through protein diets and workouts, and he talks about how he's become spending so much time watching other bodybuilders to try and get bigger himself as well, but he feels a little bit more insecure. You know, he posts his own posts on TikToks right now, and most of the things are devoted to topics like how to get a gorilla chest, how to have Popeye forearms, or Lil Uzi's abs, and talks a little bit about how Bobby's kind of fallen behind on schoolwork because he dedicates so much time to weightlifting and prepping high protein meals. Many doctors and researchers now are saying that the relentless adultation of muscular male bodies can have a toxic effect, surprisingly, on the self-esteem of young men, because as you and I both know.
So with what you're talking about, the first thing that bothers me is this kid is 16 years old. My dad would not let me lift until I was 16. And when I was 16, he didn't come to the weight room with me because, I was playing basketball in high school. I was at the gym by myself, but he would ask me what my lifts were. And my dad played college football, so he knew what he was talking about. He didn't want me lifting any weights at all before I was 16. And when I was 16, he didn't want me lifting anything heavy. He didn't want me trying to bulk up in puberty and adolescence. Your body's changing, and when you focus on lifting weights like that, like, you can affect how your body grows, and so, I'm hearing about this 16-year-old who already spent years trying to sculpt his body. Like, being a teenager, going through puberty, that is stressful enough without trying to also be a bodybuilder, trying to also get a gorilla chest, trying to also do all these things. Like, we got this topic of bigorexia. I thought we were going to be talking about young adults. Man, I feel bad for this kid and any kid that's in the same situation, because 16-year-olds shouldn't feel that pressure.
Well, and we're not even referencing just 16-year-olds here. In the article, it mentions a 2009 survey published in the California Journal of Health Promotion examined body image in boys, and almost a third of the 149 boys surveyed, ranges aged 11 to 18, were dissatisfied with their body shapes. Now, as you can imagine, the athletes were more dissatisfied than the non-athletes, and they wanted to increase muscles, specifically in their chest, their arms, their abs. And the quest for the perfect pecs is so strong that psychiatrists now refer to it as bigorexia, which is how they got this term. And the loose definition of it is basically it's a form of muscle dysphoria exhibited mostly by men and characterized by excessive weightlifting, a preoccupation with not feeling muscular enough, and a strict adherence to eating foods that lower weight and build muscle. Now, as you can imagine, the condition can also lead to young men to become obsessed with their appearance and constantly checking themselves out in the mirror to see whether they're good enough. I know you and I even occasionally have a time where we look in the mirror. Sometimes we like what we see, sometimes we're just like, oh. And then we just keep going about our day. But at 11 to 18 years old, that's got to have a real negative effect there.
Yeah. I mean, so I like the idea of playing off anorexia, because as they describe it, it is the exact same thing. It's somebody who is obsessed with being thin in a way that makes them feel like they are always too big, no matter how thin they get. It is exactly the same thing with a different method, and the psychological symptoms are all the same: an obsession with your body, a constant negative image of yourself. I think the link with anorexia is right, and anorexia is a thing that has bothered a lot of teens for a super long time. And I know that when I was in high school, it was on the radar of school counselors and psychologists and youth ministers and all that. This is definitely something that I can easily see. Everybody forgets that boys care about their appearance too, and that it's just as easy to get sucked into something like that as a teenage boy as it is a teenage girl.
Absolutely. The one positive thing that you've kind of heard about is some celebrities, for example, they've tried to help push the message. There was an interview Channing Tatum actually did back on the Kelly Clarkson daytime talk show, and they put up a picture of him when he did the movie Magic Mike.
Trust me, that might be the reason why I didn't want to do a third one, is because I have to look like that.
So you don't work out regularly all the time?
No, but it's hard to look like, even if you do work out, to be that kind of in shape is not, it's not natural.
Do you have to eat like so well?
Yeah, you have to. Well is not even, that's not even healthy. You have to starve yourself.
Oh my God.
I don't think when you're that lean, it's actually
health is dangerous.
Yeah. It's a good thing to see that celebrities, these kids that people look up to, are actually being the ones to come out and say, like, I basically had to kill myself to get there, and not in a healthy, positive way.
Yeah. Well, I think one of the things is like with movie shoots the same way as with bodybuilders, right? Before a show, a lot of these guys are dangerously dehydrated because they can't have any water in their system. Otherwise, they're going to lose the definition in their muscles. I think better than people like Channing Tatum and Chris Hemsworth, because Chris Hemsworth has spoken out about this. Henry Cavill has spoken out about it too. Yeah. Better than them speaking out about it is to stop doing those scenes in movies. Stop starving yourself. Stop dehydrating yourself. Like, have real abs in a movie. When you get into really good shape and you're also hydrated and healthy, you can still have a flat stomach. You can still have visible abs. It's just not going to be comic book level abs.
Yeah.
And I feel like they should do the same thing with the women, right? In magazines and in ads and on Instagram and in movies. Allow these women who are fit and thin and healthy, hydrated, fed, in actual good shape, not near death. Allow them to be real in these things, right? Because that still looks good. So just let it be that.
Yeah, you don't have to be a twig just to look good. I know we originally talked about the age range for the study having been 11 to 18. Now, another gentleman they speak about here, his name's Rudy. He's 17. He's a senior at a Los Angeles high school, and he's actually gone out and said that boys as young as 10 years old, have hit him up on Instagram and YouTube and trying to figure out like what to eat and how to achieve the Dorito physique. Now, if you're not familiar with that, that's...
I mean, it's the V, right?
Yeah, so, it's the V. It's basically that shoulder triangle shape desired by a lot of people. Like, these kids that are 10 years old that are worried about having muscle mass and having the V shape, kind of what is that doing to their head? Like, that's just beating them down at such a young age. That's just not okay.
As the psychiatrists have said, this is anorexia. It's anorexia that manifests itself in a desire for big muscles and not for just being thin. We know what it's doing to their minds. That research has been done. A lot of the issues that we've covered, as we've talked over the last several weeks, really come down to one thing. Where is this kid's dad? A 10-year-old that is hitting up strangers on Instagram for weightlifting advice should be asking their dad, and their dad should be telling them, you're 10 years old. You don't need to worry about this right now. As a dad, you say, okay, you're 10 years old. I recognize that you want to do that, but you're too young. You don't need to worry about this, but you will get there. And when you do, I will walk you through this. That is what can offset all of these other messages to this kid. I have 2 teenage kids. Neither of them are obsessed with their appearance in this way. I can't claim all of the credit for that, but my presence has had some effect, and that is also my presence as I have gone over my own body transformation over the last 6 years, where I have gone from very skinny fat to being fat to being very fit to going to grad school and becoming overweight again and going through all these things. So they have seen that parental intervention, not even intervention, like just parental presence, parental attention, should be able to prevent this from happening. And so like there's a lot of reasons to feel bad for these kids that find themselves in these positions.
Yeah, and the thing we forget to even mention about here, we're talking about kind of what it does to them kind of mentally, but let's even talk about as far as kind of interpersonal social skills. One of the kids they talk about, he would avoid socializing, he would avoid going to birthday parties because he didn't want to do anything that could potentially affect his next day's workout. You're 16 to 20 years old. Live your life. Go
have fun. I mean, it doesn't matter what age you are. It doesn't, like, unless you are a bodybuilder or you are a model, you do not need to be so focused on your workout that you can't have fun. What good is it to be fit if you can't enjoy it? Like, what good is it? What is the value that you're getting out of being in shape? There's a lot to be said from validating yourself, but everything good that happens in life happens from outside you, right? Your relationships and I mean, mainly that's really, actually, that's what I'm talking. Just about everything good in life is a relationship with another human being, and you can't have that if you're at the gym. Well, you can, but you're probably not going to.
But I kind of, it does make me question if everybody wasn't so, not that this will ever stop, but if there was no social media for people that are so concerned about this, I kind of wonder if these kids would even care about their physique, or if they would just, if they wasn't so focused on that, if they would just be like, I'm happy with how I am.
I think they would be concerned, but they'd be concerned based on the people around them, right? You can only compare yourself to the people you see. If you live in a place where everybody's fit, then you're going to compare yourself to that. But if you live in central Indiana and everybody is average, you're going to try to be better than average. What social media does is it allows you to compare yourself to everybody in the world, which creates a problem. When I was 16, 17, and I was 6'3", 185 pounds, I felt super skinny and I wanted to be bigger. And I had access to bodybuilding magazines. I had access to Sports Illustrated and all that. So I could see the physique that I wanted, but it wasn't the same as seeing somebody on Instagram, right? When you're looking at a professional athlete, you're looking at a professional bodybuilder, you're like, oh, I wish I could do that. And then you see some regular dude on Instagram. Now you're thinking, why can't I do that? What's wrong with me?
I really hope one day that somebody listens to this and actually hears what I have to say. Just, realize that it's okay to be happy with yourself. Yeah, I will admit, as a former half-keeper myself there, it's a lot easier to bend over and tie your shoes when you're not a big guy. You don't have to worry about falling flat on your head.
I've said this a couple of times, but if you're an adult, right? If you're 30 years old and you want to live your entire life to have washboard abs, then go ahead, do it. Like that's fine.
Yeah.
But my concern, as it has been almost every subject that we've covered, is for kids, right? Kids don't need to worry about that. The fewer kids that focus on this at 15, 16, 17, the fewer people that are going to be obsessed with it when they're 30. And I think that makes everybody better off.